Best of r/entitled parents episode 76. Subscribe for edit videos daily. My first story. YAY. So, this took place somewhere around 10-15 years ago, and is actually my grams, which means details might be blurry or IDK. There is also some mentions of past abuse. English isn't my OG language, and all the warnings. Cast, great granny equals GI, granny equals G, my mom equals ME. Beautiful man, my dad equals D. The story. GR was not very loved in my family. She used to beat G for pointless things and was diagnosed with schizophrenia later. GR thought she was being filmed by hidden cameras anywhere, anytime, and that her family and friends were FBI people that want to arrest me type of nonsense. As time went on, G had a child, M. My gram was proud of my mum. She was a cute little baby, and she decided to show her to GR. What happened was GR, for some reason, decided to scream insults and stuff at my granny, and attack her. She was then put in a mental institution and blah blah. My G and baby M were okay, aside from some crying from M. Years later, GR grows old, and she is on her deathbed. Doctors saying it was only a question of months, maybe even weeks. Meanwhile, my mum was a beautiful lady, and gave birth to me not so long ago. The first thing M did after creating me, was visit GR. Mum, hello GR. I apologize for not coming sooner. Things have been tough recently. Me and D conceived a child. At this time, baby me was in her arms, trying to control my hands and body and basic baby stuff. Since I am kind enough, I will show you my son, but you cannot hold him. I do not want you to do to him what you did to G and me. You have hurt us too long, and I will not tolerate your presence next to my son again. GR tried to protest, saying it was for your own good and other lies, and my mother ended up leaving her behind, to live the rest of her life alone. She died 2-3 months later, alone in the hospital. I have no memories of her and am thankful about that. Thank you. Next. I'm having a pretty rough time at the moment, so I just really need to rant. It's a bit of a touchy subject, so if you aren't comfortable with self-harm or suicide, please do not read. I'm on mobile and sorry for the grammar. Backstory. When you were born, neither your mum or dad wanted you, so when I was 1/2 they divorced and my grandmother, GM, took me in out of the kindness in my heart, along with my granddad who died when I was 10 after a 15+ year battle with Ms. I lived with GM till I was 19 and now at 24 have only just managed to tell her where to stick it. This story is from when I was 18 and when I hit rock bottom. I've suffered with mental health issues all my life, mostly thanks to GM, but at this point my depression had gotten the best of me due to a lot of crap happening in my life, so I tried to overdose. At the time I was on the phone with my ex and he convinced me to pass the phone to my GM to tell her what I had done. Ex-partner explained what I did, so my nan called my dad to take me to the hospital. My dad was the only one with a car. Thankfully the time it took my dad to get to me was enough time for my nan to tell me all the reasons I had done this to her. I was a spoiled child. My nan gave up her whole life and the years that she could have spent with just her and my granddad. I'm faking it. She's been through a lot more than I have and she doesn't feel as bad as I say I feel, so my mental health is a lie and all in your head. I'm trying to one-up her. Me and the doctors saying I have anxiety, depression and OCD is just me trying to beat her and be more ill than she is so and can have more sympathy. I'm doing it for attention, because she has a new partner, was with him for a year before then and a lovely guy, so I'm jealous and crying for attention. I'm angering God. I'm disrespecting God and wasting all the years I spent at a Catholic school and her pretending to be Catholic just for a teenage tantrum. I was just trying to be the black sheep of the family. I was always the odd one out and this was a way of me to keep standing out. In the end I was in and out of the hospital within 24 hours. After I came home my family was too ashamed to mention it again, so my nan went back to pretending like everything was fine and her perfect family ideals were intact. If you feel suicidal or feel the need to self-harm, please contact your local suicide helpline. Thank you. Next. So, I've always thought that maybe I'm actually the problem and my parents aren't as bad as I think, until I posted on here and people sided with me. My older sister is 19 and a sophomore in college. She had a rocky freshman year. The first semester, She had to withdraw from a class because she had been procrastinating and the class was harder than she thought. Second semester, she failed a class because she refused to go because she couldn't sit for that long. My sister has autism and ADHD. She told no one what was happening until she actually failed. At home, where EM homeschools her children, they would refuse to do their homework. They would rather be playing. She didn't have to teach me. I do some online high school courses and dual enrolled at our local college. EM hatched a plan, and honestly a good move on her part. She had ED create a reward system for my older sister, while she made one for my entitled brother and entitled sister. ED refuses to tell us exactly how his system works so we can't exploit it, or something. He says he might tell us after we graduate. Basically, you get more money for good grades and actually get money taken away from your total for Fs. My siblings were given weekly prizes if they did their school with minimal tantrums. EB got Pokemon cards and ES got papers saying she had whatever amount on the paper to use towards a little trinket type toy she was obsessed with. The system has since stopped working, but it did for a while. The problem is that EM and ED decided to only apply this new parenting technique to the problem children. I was doing everything right and was getting nothing. I am not a perfect child. As I grow older, I get more and more defiant. However, I try to get my school done and manage to keep straight A's most of the time. When I am happy about acing a math test, EM simply nods like I had gotten an okay grade. When I got a C on my chemistry test, EM freaked out and said that I needed a tutor because I obviously didn't understand any of the material. I wasn't getting rewarded for any of my grades, while all of my siblings were earning prizes or actual money. I was getting more and more discouraged and frustrated until I finally brought it up to EM. Me, how's the reward system going? EM, they are doing their work and the tantrums stopped. It's working great. Me, okay, but what about me? EM, what do you mean? Me, I do all my school, and I don't complain, and I don't get rewarded. EM, but, you behave. She huffed along her merry way. Talk to ED. They are somehow confused as to why I would need reward when I did my school without it. Now I get slightly less than my sister, but I do get paid for having straight A's. Thank you. Next. Disclaimer: this happened to my mother yesterday while I was half a state away, so this is what she told me. My mum left our home Sunday for an appointment with a cancer research doctor to decide her treatment. She was not in the best state of mind as she was leaving. She was worried that she would be the next one in the long line in the family to get cancer and planned to stay with her mother during her stay. After driving for 2.5 hours to my childhood town, she found that my grandmother's parking spot was taken. This is not unusual as my grandmother does not have a car and lets her neighbors use her spot since she cannot, though sadly she forgot to tell the neighbor to move their car when my mother was coming down. My mother decided that it being late and all that she will ask them to move it in the morning and instead took one of the free parking spaces for guests. In the morning, she knocked on the neighbors and asked them to move their car so that she may park in the space. As they went downstairs, my mother was met with a horror. The car that she worked so hard for covered in trash like someone just threw it on top of it. She was peed, but took the trash and put it in the dumpster. When she returned to the car, there was a note underneath the car. She could not read the note since it was in Brazilian, so she just stuffed it into her coat and went to move the car. It was then that she noticed the keying. It was deepened on both sides. She told me that she started crying at this point and called the police to report it. When the officer arrived, he translated the note and it said something to the effect of, "This parking space is mine. Do not park here again." The officer told my mom that the note does not provide to who it was and it would be hard pressed to make a claim with just a note since it was not signed to who it was from. The woman my mother came down with suggested that they could go through the trash that was piled on top of the note for maybe a clue to who it was. While the officer protested to going into the dumpster due to sanitary reasons, my mom could care less and jumped into it, pulling out the trash that she put in there. She then proceeded to go through the trash like a crazy trash panda until she hit the mother load and found bank statements of the man. It provided his name and address. Though the police officer said that the trash could not be used to file a report against the man, but did offer that she could attempt to record the man, and if she can get it on video to him admitting to writing the note, then she has got him. Provided she does it the right way, since Massachusetts is a two-party consent state. Now my mom is on a mission. She staked out the window with the next door neighbor waiting for the man. After a few hours the neighbor pulled up to the house with his 2 children in tow. As soon as the neighbor pointed him out she ran downstairs and recording as soon as she exited the door. When they were talking the man barely spoke English and mostly used Google Translate to talk so his voice was translated. Their conversation goes as follows. Mom, were you the who wrote the note and put it on my car? Entitled Dad, are you recording? Mom, yes I am. Did you put the note on my car? He tried speaking in his native tongue but my mother did not understand him so he opened up Google Translate at this point. I wrote the note, that is my parking space. Do not park there again. It was hard to find a new parking spot with 2 wailing children in my truck. You should be more considerate to parents. And I did not put trash on your car, and your car is fine. My mother stopped recording at this point having all that she needed and returned to the apartment to call the police back to the place. She turned over the evidence and since she was so good with the detective work, what the police officer said, that she will not have to pay for damages and that it will be placed solely on the man. My mom is currently pressing charges and preparing to take the man to court if he does not settle and pay the damages to her car. TL. Doctor, man throws trash on and keys my mother's car because he was too inconvenienced to find a new parking space with his 2 crying children in the car. He is now paying for the damages. Sorry for any bad formatting. This is my first post in this subreddit. I am also afraid that this is not entitled parent enough for the sub. It is entitled. But I don't know so much for the parent part. Update. Just got off the phone with me dear LA mum. Apparently she has to take him to small claims court, pay $500 for repairs, and take out a rental car so she can still go to her doctors and such. All of these expenses over some shat keying the car. I hope we are able to handle the costs. Man his life is great. Thank you. Next. I have been lurking around here and decided to post a story that happened when was in 1st or 2nd grade. English is my second language. I am on mobile. First a little backstory. EK has quite a reputation where I live. He throws rocks at cars, kids and elderly. Me and my friends usually hang out in a field near a playground. One of us mentally ill and a little slow. Now onto the story. But firstly rolls EM. Entitled Mother EK. Entitled Kid 4. Friend EK. Disabled Kid Me. Now let the story begin. Me, 4 and EK were hanging out on the field when EK decided joined us. We let him because only 4 had actually saw what he was doing at the time. I only heard stories and wanted to see it for myself and boy I did. After half an hour DK needed to pee, so he found a bottle, a Jana bottle, and peed in it. EK was thirsty and demanded that we give him something to drink. We didn't have anything. He said he would take it then and went and picked up the bottle DK peed in. He said it was delicious. At this point I didn't even know DK peed in the bottle, but when I found out I started laughing and demanded that we tell him what it is so his mom can buy it. We told him we didn't know. After back and forth, he called his EM. She was near us, and this is how the encounter went. EK, Mom, these boys won't tell what this drink is. EM approaches and looks at the drink. EM, this isn't normal Jana. What is this? 4, we really don't know. It isn't ours. It was on the ground. EM, don't lie to me. I know it is yours as only a jispy like you would litter. Now tell me what this is. Me, we told you. EM, we really don't. DK, it is my pee. Everybody looks at DK. Me and 4 are about laugh and EM and EK look horrified. EM, you gave my child pee, you fucking filth. Me, what? No we didn't. He took it from the ground. EM, don't you dare lie to me, you fucking pieces of shit. I am calling the police. She then calls the police. There was a policeman near here where we were and went to check on what happened. Policeman will be from now on. CP, cool policeman. CP, hello, ma'am, were you the one that called us? EM, yes, thank you for coming. CP, now then, where are the people that beat you child up and forced poison down you child's throat? When we heard that we had a look of shock. EM, these children right here. CP looked at us and saw us in shock. 4 spoke up. That isn't true. You kid drank from a bottle that DK peed from. CP, ma'am, these children aren't even teenagers yet. Are you sure it was them? EM, yes. After that we heard our savior, from on he will be called S. S was an older gentleman. S was sitting on a bench near the playground. Wait, these children didn't do anything wrong. I saw everything that happened. The kid points to EKS. He picked up a bottle from the ground and drank from it. Also, I know these children and they wouldn't do anything you claim they have done. CM slaps both me, 4, and EK and then punches SM. How dare you give my child pee and how dare you help them? CP then tackled EM and arrested her. She was later put in prison and lost custody of her child, but this isn't the end of this crazy EM and EK. Thank you for reading. TL. Doctor. EK drinks pee and his mother calls the cops and says we poisoned her kid. After being exposed she attacks everybody. Thank you. Next. As promised, here is part 2 to my post from yesterday. Same cast. Feel free to read part 1 before continuing. We got back into town with a bunch of groceries from Sam's Club for Jay's family. As we got back into town and EM was grumbling, me and A were still talking. I mentioned how my dad is getting older and more sentimental. EM saw the chance to be a BTCH to get back at me for shutting down her nonsense. EM, remember, you'll have to put everything away before you get any pizza I was talking about getting this morning. Everyone else, okay. Me, yeah, since my dad turned 60, he has been getting more sentimental. He keeps reminding me how proud of me he is. That's cool. EM, butting in, well to be fair, you used to be messed up, but you are doing better now. Kids these days have a harder time learning responsibility. Now I have had trouble in the past with holding down a job, and I have had a couple of misunderstandings with the local police. Just a ticket when I was 18 and a trespass warning when I was on the wrong property that blew up and almost got me sent to jail. But I'm do like having a job and working for what I have. Me, yeah, because teenagers doing bad things is only a recent problem. EM, well yeah, because back in my day we had discipline. Rolling his eyes and whispering OMFG. Me, rolling my eyes back, bad teenagers existed back in the 70s and 80s too. And even before that. EM, yeah, but our parents wouldn't let us get too bad. Me, I can remember a lot of stories my mom told about people she knew in school that did crazy things and went to jail. EM, now even crankier, which was good because I was still salty about her talking shitty about my job I've worked hard at for well over a year. That was different. Me, not really. Things were pretty crazy back then too. EM probably didn't even hear that because she was already walking in her room after putting away none of the trunk full of groceries and grumbling more about how great her generation was growing up. Thank you. Next. Backstory. When I was a kid, around 5 years old, I was the second child of 2. My sister and I were 2 years apart and very much girls. Then my brother was born. I was beyond exciting because I was going to be a big sister for the first time ever. He was fantastic and like most boys who only had sisters, he wanted to do everything we did. My dad was convinced that since he was a boy he shouldn't be allowed to play with girl toys. Of course, my sister and I loved playing pretend and owned many dolls and little figurines. Littlest Pet Shops and My Little Ponies from the 80s were all we played with. Our brother wanted to play too. The problem was that at our young age we struggled understanding the paradox our ED put before us. We had to let him play with our toys, but at the same time he couldn't because they were girl toys. He ended up giving my brother access to all of my sister's toy trains, and basically stealing them from her because they were for girls. We were kids so we didn't notice the parenting differences that were occurring. I was raised to be well behaved and respect adults, but due to multiple run-ins with entitled parents, I no longer do and am very wary of adults who want to be in charge of me. I was not a perfect angel, but I was far better behaved than either of my siblings. I was once branded a goody two-shoes purely because I got what I asked for by being polite. My older sister is her own piece of work that has nothing to do with my parents' parenting, except for maybe the trains that had been taken from her. My brother grew to be older. Now, when I was 9 years old, I had chores like putting away dishes in the dishwasher and loading it as well. I helped fold laundry, and had to keep my room clean. Due to vision issues, I wasn't able to properly clean spaces and had to be helped. My siblings didn't have the issues, they just didn't want to. When I was 12, I noticed a stark difference in how my brother was handled. I had many chores now and was forced to comply without help. My sister once dropped a ceramic plate on my head, but refused to help with the dishes afterwards. I did them by myself, and never told my parents. What bothers me about that now is that I could have gotten a concussion and was luckily fine. By the time I was 13, my brother was 8. We were required to make him breakfast as he couldn't do it himself. It was our fault when he didn't eat even though he never asked for anything. We weren't allowed to refuse him. We had to make him breakfast. I thought this was incredibly unfair, and I was right. At this time I also had a little sister who would have been around 5. My parents wouldn't listen to me. He was younger than me. He doesn't have to know how to make breakfast. Why was I being so difficult? Their arguments finally broke down when my little sister started making her own breakfast at the age of 6. She needed help reaching the toaster, but that was it. Now I had grounds for my argument without including what I did when I was younger. My parents were so surprised that their precious boy was actually supposed to be capable of making his own breakfast. Now for my least favorite part. My brother had anger issues. This was partially due to the fact that my parents barely ever reprimanded him for anything. It got especially bad when I babysat him. I would have to tell him he couldn't watch TV, or he had to finish his school. He loved to hit and kick people when they didn't bend to his will. What he did was he would wind up his arms and basically windmill them at me as fast as he could, hitting me repeatedly. My arms would end up being so red. It hurt a lot. I don't bruise easily, so it never showed. What my parents did will always make my blood boil. It always went a little something like this. Me, brother hit me. Well, what did you do? Me, I didn't do anything. He wouldn't have hit you without reason. Me, I, place basic babysitting duty here. You shouldn't have done that. You know how angry he gets. Me, then I don't want to babysit him. You have to babysit him, you're older. Me, he hit me. OP, you are older. You should be more mature and prevent this from happening. Do you know what happened to my brother? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. My parents realized what a terror they had created about a year ago, and finally deciding it was time to parent. My little sister is also entitled. Surprise, surprise. A few months ago, I got into an argument with my brother, which ended with him kicking me incredibly hard in the back. EB is entitled brother. Me, he kicked me. EB, I didn't kick you. He kicks me again. Me, he kicked me again. Why did you kick OP? EB, she wouldn't listen to me. Place stupid argument subject here, is obviously not what she said. Me, he was wrong. Look, I had actually googled and found that I was right. OP had been escalating the situation. OP, we told you, you need to realize when EB is getting mad. The hard part is that I was getting mad. I just was better at composing myself and taking my aggression out on inanimate objects that belonged solely to me. Me, it's not my job to manage his anger. He kicked me. He wouldn't have if you had stopped. I saw the whole thing. She wasn't doing anything to de-escalate. I got in trouble. Now my mom gets so pissed at me whenever I bring up that maybe she should have tried teaching these lessons sooner. She knows she messed this up. She has 2 entitled brats and I can't wait to leave the house and run away from all of them. Edit 1. My parents are already realizing they're in deep shit because my brother has started trying to hit them, and my little sister throws alley tantrums. I help to raise my littlest brother, he's 4, because I don't want him to end up entitled. Edit 2. Clarity, I have 3 little siblings, and an older sister. At this moment, EB is 12, my little sister is 9, and the youngest, who I help raise and teach how to be polite, is 4. My older sister is now 19 and a sophomore in college. Today my younger sister bit EB, so those 2 are both terrors. Edit 3. Yes, My Little Ponies trace back to the 80s where they were first made in 1981. They have been discontinued several times throughout the years. Each time they were made again it was called a generation. There are maybe 5, I'm not sure. My older sister used to be obsessed with the history of My Little Pony. Please don't tell me that saying a fact of my childhood toys makes my story false. This is a real story that I am currently trying to escape by running off to a college that is over 2 hours away. My mom won't let me go out of state. No, I did not say that my littlest pet shops were from the 80s. They were from the early 2000s, as that is when I grew up. I do not know when littlest pet shops were first made, but I do know that I had a lot as a child. Use the internet before you accuse me of lying about something so trivial like My Little Ponies.